Okay, I'm going to talk about how to do a few problems in 2C. The first one I'm going to talk about is number 2. So read through the question. If you need to, you can pause it and then come back. So the first thing I think that helps in problems like this is to draw a picture of what's going on. So let me get this going. Okay, so one child, they start there and they're running towards the other child, and this one is the 15 feet per second. The other one starts here, and this one's 5 feet per second. And we know that the total distance that they start out is 470 meters apart. So the distance of this one, so D1, plus the distance of the second one should equal your total, which is 470. So we know that distance is rate times time. So the rate of the first one, the time of the first one, plus the rate of the second one, times the time of the second one will equal your total, which is 470. We know they start at the same time, so the time's actually going to be the same. So we really could just use t here. And then the rates, well, we have 15 for the first one. So 15t plus, and then 5 for the second one. And it still equals the 470. And if we add these together, we have 20t equals 470. Then divide both sides by 20 to solve for t. And you should get t equals 23.5. So 23.5 seconds. But that's not the answer, because it says how far will she run when all three of them collide. And we know that she's going 20 feet per second. So if she's going 20 feet per second, 20 times, so the rate times the time is going to give us the distance. So remember, distance equals rate times time, and you'll end up with 470, which happens to be the same, but that's coincidence, just because these over here totaled to be 20. It won't always just be whatever this number is. Okay, so that's how you do number 1. Or sorry, not number 1, number 2. The first question we're going to look at. The next question is going to be number 3. Okay, on this one, since we have 2 unknowns, that means we're going to have 2 equations. And so the first one, we know there's a total of 393 people. So A is going to represent our adults, and C is going to represent our children. So when we add them together, we should get 393. So there's one of our equations. The next one, we know that adults are $6 and children are $4. So 6A is going to give us the total amount that we spent in tickets for adults, because each ticket is going to cost $6. And then plus 4C, and then we know we spent a total in $1,750 for admissions. So now there's a few different ways to solve this. You can do substitution, or you can go through and do linear combination, or elimination is what some people call it. So I'm going to go ahead and do substitution, because that's what probably more of you are familiar with. I'm going to solve for A in my first equation. So I'm going to have A equals 393 minus C. And I'm going to take this and substitute it in for A. So I'll have 6, and then times 393 minus C. And then the rest of the equation. And then let's distribute the 6. So you're going to have 6 times 393, which gives us 2,358, minus 6C plus 4C Now we need to combine like terms and get the c's on the same side and the numbers on the other side. So on this side, we're going to have negative 2c, and then subtract the 2,358 over to the other side. And we get negative 608. And then divide that by the negative 2, and you should get c equals 304. So that means we have 304 children. And then for the adults, well, we know that they're going to total 393. So we can take 393 and subtract the 304. We end up with 89 adults. And you can go through and check that by plugging them into each equation. Okay, so number 4 is the next one. So it says, suppose you have 6 dark chocolates and 5 light chocolates in a box. So there's 2 questions. Without looking, how many chocolates do you need to pick out of the box? To be sure, you get 2 light chocolates. I like to think of it, well, worst case scenario, you would get all dark chocolates and not any light chocolates. So if that happens, you would have to draw 6 times to get the 6 dark chocolates in a row. So that's worst case. And then by drawing 2 more times, you'd get those 2 light chocolates. And because we're looking at worst case, you'd have to do 8 to guarantee. It could happen the first 2 times, but it could also happen as many as the 8 times, because that's assuming you get all of the dark chocolate first. So the first answer is 8. And then the next one, how many would you need to pick out of the box to sure you get either 2 lights or 2 darks? So we're okay with getting dark and dark, or we're okay with getting a light and then a light and anything in between. So the first thing, the worst case here, if you want to look at it that way, you get a light and then a dark, which is the same as a dark and a light. So far that's 2. But those aren't the same. So on this one, you could draw a light next, or you could draw a dark next. And then on the other one, you could draw a dark next, or you can draw a light next. So those are the possible things that you could draw. And remember, these can all be switched too. So like this one, we could write switched with the L and the D. But anyway, so on all of these combinations, look, we have 2 lights in the first one, 2 darks on the next one, and then 2 lights. So it looks like 3. By drawing just 3 times, we'll make sure we get either 2 lights or 2 darks. Okay, the last one I'm going to go over is number 5. So on this one, I think it's best to make a table. So I'm going to be comparing the males, females, and then the total. So the first column, I'm going to deal with the ratios. So this is 95 to 220 or to 255. Remember, that's the ratio, so that number could be reduced. If we go through and total that, we'll get 350. And then, so this is the ratio column, and then this is the actual column. So we know we're dealing with 12,000 birds. So we need to solve for F, and we need to solve for M. And we know that every male bird mates with 1 female bird, so how many female birds would be without mates? So we're going to have to find the difference between these two when we're done. So in order to solve for, let's say, F first, we would do this ratio, this fraction ratio. So we would do 255 over 350 equals F over 12,000. And then you cross multiply. So you multiply these two. and then you multiply the 350 and the F. So we will get the 255 times 12,000 . So that equal to 350 F, and then divide both sides by 350. Then we're going to be rounding to the nearest whole number. So if we round that, we should get 8,743. And now set up the ratio for the next one. So we'll have 95 over 350 equals M over 12,000. Go through cross multiply, round to the nearest whole number. So we get 3,257. And now take the difference between those, and you'll get 5,486. So hopefully this video helped you with 2C. If you still have questions on this, then I would suggest getting a tutor. They have online tutoring resources that are available, and you can get those. I'm going to pull this over. If you click on content, hopefully this works. You can have up to 3 hours free. Click on resources and then student resources, and then click on tutoring resources. And then talks about the walk-in tutoring if you live in Rexburg. Then there's also this online tutoring link. So click on that link to find out more information about the online tutoring. You can also post questions to the discussion board. And when you post questions to the discussion board, if you click on discussions, make sure if it's dealing with week 2, you put it in this main discussion board. All these other ones are just group ones. So you could just post to your group, but if you want everybody to see it, go ahead and post in the questions and conversations. Because chances are if you have a question on something, somebody else in the class does too. That way other people can respond and help. I'm not the only one that needs to answer the question. So if you see a question on here that you know the answer to, feel free to respond and help out your peer. Anyways, let me know if you've got questions, and good luck.